Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving headfirst into the tumultuous sea of Trump-era tariffs. Buckle up because we're about to dissect the comprehensive list of tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, broken down by country. Now you might be thinking, tariffs? That sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. And you know what? You'd be half right. We're talking billions of dollars worth of goods, folks. So, stay tuned to get all the details you need to navigate this tariff-ick storm. Let's start with the big one, shall we? China. The Trump administration slapped tariffs on a dizzying array of Chinese goods like we're playing a high-stakes game of tariff whack-a-mole. First up, electronics, smartphones, laptops, those little Bluetooth speakers shaped like animals that nobody asked for but everyone seems to have. You name it, it probably got hit with a tariff. And don't even get me started on steel. The tariffs on Chinese steel were like trying to fix a leaky faucet with a sledgehammer. Well-intentioned maybe, but ultimately messy and probably going to make things worse. And it didn't stop there. We're talking solar panels, medical devices, even those little plastic toys you get in cereal boxes. Now, the stated goal of all this was to protect American jobs and reduce the trade deficit. But the reality? It's complicated. So while the tariffs on China might have sounded good on paper, the real-world impact is a bit more, shall we say, nuanced. Next up, the European Union, a place known for its charming accents, delicious pastries, and apparently, being on the receiving end of American tariffs. The Trump administration targeted a whole smorgasbord of European goods, from automobiles to agricultural products. We're talking German cars, French wines, Italian cheeses, basically all the things that make life worth living, or at least slightly more bearable. Now, the Trump administration argued that these tariffs were necessary to protect American industries and address unfair trade practices. But the EU wasn't exactly thrilled about it. The tariffs on the EU sparked a tit-for-tat trade war, with both sides slapping tariffs on each other's goods like they were in a particularly aggressive game of ping-pong. So, the next time you're enjoying a glass of French wine, spare a thought for the tariffs that made it a little bit more expensive. Ah, Canada. Our friendly neighbors to the north, known for their love of hockey, maple syrup, and apparently being on the receiving end of American tariffs. The Trump administration targeted some of Canada's most important exports, including aluminum and steel. Now, the stated goal was to protect American jobs in those industries. But the problem is, the US and Canada's economies are so intertwined, they're practically sharing a bank account. So when you hit Canada with tariffs, it's like punching yourself in the face, twice, because you're mad at your hand for being attached to your arm. The tariffs on Canada caused a lot of head-scratching, even among those who usually support tariffs. And what did these tariffs achieve? Well, they strained relations with one of our closest allies, raised prices for consumers, and probably gave a few Canadian geese a good chuckle. Let's talk about Mexico, shall we? A country known for its vibrant culture, delicious food, and, unfortunately, being on the receiving end of some rather pointed American trade policies. The Trump administration didn't hold back, hitting Mexico with tariffs on a whole range of goods from automotive parts to agricultural products. Now, the stated goal of these tariffs was to renegotiate NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. And to be fair, NAFTA was about as popular as a skunk at a garden party. But slapping tariffs on Mexico, our third largest trading partner, felt a bit like performing open-heart surgery with a rusty spork. The tariffs on Mexico created uncertainty for businesses, raised prices for consumers, and added another layer of complexity to an already complicated relationship. It was like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. Well-intentioned, maybe, but ultimately counterproductive. Now let's turn our attention to India, a country with a rich history, a booming economy, and apparently a starring role in the Trump administration's trade drama. We're talking tariffs on everything from textiles and electronics to steel and aluminum. The Trump administration argued that these tariffs were necessary to address India's trade practices and protect American jobs. But critics argued that they were more about scoring political points than achieving any real economic gains. The tariffs on India added another layer of complexity to an already complex relationship. So while the tariffs on India might have grabbed headlines, their actual impact on the US economy is debatable. But one thing's for sure, they certainly added some spice to the US-India trade relationship. Let's talk about Turkey, a country strategically located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, known for its rich history, beautiful beaches, and unfortunately, being on the receiving end of some rather pointed American tariffs. The Trump administration targeted a number of Turkish goods, including steel, aluminum, and automotive parts. Now, the tariffs on Turkey were partly driven by economic concerns, but they were also linked to broader geopolitical tensions between the US and Turkey. It was a case of trade policy becoming entangled with foreign policy, like a pair of headphones that just won't stop getting tangled in your pocket. The tariffs on Turkey had a significant impact on the Turkish economy, contributing to a currency crisis and raising concerns about broader economic instability. It was a reminder that tariffs, even those imposed with the best of intentions, can have unintended consequences. So the next time you see a Turkish delight, spare a thought for the complex web of economic and geopolitical factors that influenced its price. Now, let's talk about Russia, a country known for its vast size, its wintry climate, and its rather, shall we say, complicated relationship with the United States. The Trump administration imposed a number of tariffs on Russian goods, including metals, energy products, and even some defense articles. Now, the tariffs on Russia were part of a broader strategy to pressure the Russian government over a range of issues, including election interference, the conflict in Ukraine, and human rights abuses. It was a case of using trade policy as a tool of foreign policy, like trying to fix a leaky faucet with a screwdriver. It might seem like a good idea at the time, but it's probably not going to end well. The tariffs on Russia had a mixed impact. They did little to change Russian behavior, and they ended up hurting some American businesses and consumers. It was a reminder that tariffs are a blunt instrument, and they often come with unintended consequences. Let's turn our attention to Japan, a country known for its technological innovation, its unique culture, and its long-standing alliance with the United States. The Trump administration initially imposed tariffs on a number of Japanese goods, including automobiles and electronics. Now, the tariffs on Japan were part of a broader effort to reduce the US trade deficit and protect American jobs. But they also strained relations with one of America's closest allies and raised concerns about a potential trade war. However, in a surprising turn of events, the US and Japan eventually reached a trade truce, with Japan agreeing to purchase more American agricultural products, and the US agreeing to ease some of the tariffs. It was a rare example of the Trump administration backing down from a trade confrontation, like seeing a cat befriending a cucumber. Unexpected but oddly heartwarming. Now let's talk about South Korea, a country known for its dynamic economy, its K-pop music, and its strategically important location on the Korean peninsula. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on a number of South Korean goods, including electronics, automobiles, and steel. Now, the tariffs on South Korea were part of a broader effort to reduce the US trade deficit and protect American jobs. But they also strained relations with a key ally and raised concerns about undermining security cooperation in a volatile region. The tariffs on South Korea had a mixed impact. They did little to change South Korean trade practices, and they ended up hurting some American businesses and consumers. Finally, let's talk about Brazil, a country known for its vibrant culture, its Amazon rainforest, and its rather tumultuous relationship with the Trump administration when it comes to trade. The Trump administration imposed tariffs on a number of Brazilian goods, including steel, aluminum, and even some agricultural products. Now, the tariffs on Brazil were partly driven by economic concerns, but they were also influenced by personal animosity between President Trump and Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro. It was a case of trade policy becoming entangled with personal politics, like trying to untangle a pair of headphones after they've been in your pocket all day. The tariffs on Brazil had a limited impact on the Brazilian economy, but they did strain relations between the two countries. It was a reminder that trade policy is rarely straightforward and often reflects broader political considerations. So, there you have it. A whirlwind tour of the Trump administration's tariff policy, a policy that left few corners of the globe untouched. We've seen how tariffs were used to address trade imbalances, protect American jobs, and even punish geopolitical rivals. But we've also seen how they often led to unintended consequences, strained relationships with allies, and raised prices for consumers. The legacy of the Trump tariffs is still being written. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more informative content.